Oh, it went away. Can I get it back? There we go. So I Googled, water phase diagram. So this is a standard one which I'm familiar with doing, science experiments with kids in the classroom. Temperature along the horizontal x-axis. We have pressure along the vertical y-axis. Underneath this line here we have water vapor, gas. Above this line we have water. To the left of this line we have ice or a solid. So it's standard pressure, temperature, phase diagram for water. Okay, but I know that it's more than that. That's like the one we show science students, from 6th grade to 12th grade or whatever, because that's the part that people live in and can understand it the most. But, when you Google a full phase diagram, we have the, traditional water, vapor, steam. You have the liquid, water, and you have the ice over here. But, once you start getting up into very, very, very high pressures, this is all solid and blue. But look at all the different types of solids, phases of solids you have, right? And then we have, water vapor, but as you go higher in temperature, you get into supersaturated vapors. You get into a critical point at which, a vapor and a liquid will exist at the same temperature. You can't, just by changing pressure, you can't go between one or the other. Things get a little strange. So on this, full phase diagram, I put these 4 lines here. So right here, 100 kilopascals, that's like 1 atmosphere. That's like a normal day on surface of planet Earth, right? And, if we're saying like 20 degrees C is room temperature, so right around this dot here is where we exist. The lines kind of show maybe some of the further extremes that humans, function on Earth. They function farther, but not without some special equipment. Let's talk about temperature. That's probably the most easy one. So, 0 degrees C is 32 Fahrenheit, right? That's freezing point. If you're getting up to like 40 degrees C, that's like 100, 120 degrees F. Like, people live in Africa and Texas and Arizona, and it gets that hot, but they're not fully functional, right? I mean, like, they're staying indoors, or you gotta hydrate specially, or whatever, stay cool. And on the other end, like, we're getting down to like minus 30 C. That's like, pretty close to minus 25 Fahrenheit. And I lived in Potsdam going to college, and that was a typical morning, minus 20, minus 30. But walking to class across the frozen river, I got heavy boots on with wool socks. I got like 3 pairs of pants. I got a couple jackets on, hat, gloves. Your breath is freezing as you're walking, kind of thing. So, yeah, functional, but it's not the. Is that kind of like at the extreme, much colder, and like you wouldn't go out. You could, but you don't just for the heck of it. Pressure, because that's kind of like a little different. Like, we just live in 1 atmosphere, 15 psi, 100 kilopascals. I don't know, is it like a 1,000 millibars or something like that? But we don't vary pressure as much as temperature varies for us on planet Earth. The pressure kind of stays. So if I'm going scuba diving, I go down 100 feet to scuba dive to a wreck. I think that's kind of like every 30 feet is another atmosphere. So maybe that's like 4 atmospheres. So, maybe we're down here at, I don't know where I put it, like 50 kilopascals. So that's like, as far down as we kind of function without special equipment for pressure. And if we go, up in altitude, the pressure will decrease. So, like, rule of thumb is if you're, took some private pilot lessons. So, above 10,000 feet, you need supplemental oxygen, at least for the pilot, right? I don't know exactly, somewhere around there you also need it for passengers, but at least the pilot above 10,000 feet, if I remember right, and that's from a while ago. So, you know, that pressure puts us up, I forgot what it was, it was like, you know, 500 or 600 kilopascals. So this upper line, so this box in the middle is kind of like where us humans like function on a daily basis without having like specialized equipment or specialized environments. So we just pursue, you know, traversing this rabbit hole here. So in this box that are kind of our comfort zone here, now we go back and forth across a solid liquid line for water, but like we don't even get to where water boils and turns into steam. We don't even see this side, which like we're familiar with. Like our bodies don't experience that, but we see water boiling, you know, and we don't see, you know, vapor turning to solids and solids turning to vapors. We don't experience like any of that. It's like a very limited part of the phase diagram that our bodies live in, and we do are aware of these other things, but not like physically, not like personally. And you know, just where we exist as humans in this temperature pressure box, not too far out of that is a whole bunch of other things happening. Like, what would it be like if the water in our body boiled, like, and we could survive that? Like, what happens then? What does the body do then? Does it swell? Does it shrink? Does it float? I don't know. So anyways, but look at that. Even beyond just that little bit that we're familiar with you know, water in a pan on a stove, look at all this stuff up here, all these high pressure stuff, all these different types of solids. We got critical points where things are different, say liquid and vapor exist at the same time. And like, what does that mean? Like, if we existed in two different phases at the same time, like we're solid and we're a liquid. Okay, so, you know, we've looked at the big, the more expansive, the full phase diagram for water. Understand there's lots of things that water do, phases they get into that we just are not aware of in a normal day existence. So we're gonna, you know, just take a look at, we're gonna switch to a different diagram in just this section, and just try to put some framework together and see what it looks like. This is like, I haven't thought this out, so we're just kind of like diving down the rabbit hole together and seeing what wows come up, and well, that makes no sense. But I don't know, that's the fun thing. I don't know, it's just kind of interesting to dialogue with the self and see what comes in.